This year, set a self-improvement goal, like socially dominating your friends with your superior streaming knowledge. Catch up on the hits you missed with Prime Video, from Reacher to Taylor Swift The Eras Tour extended version, and The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Watch everything included on Prime. Rent or buy new releases. Add on hundreds of streamers. One app, one password. Prime Video. Find your happy place. Restrictions apply. Prime membership not required to rent or buy. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details.
Tired of ads interrupting your favorite show? Good news. Ad-free listening on Amazon Music is included with your Prime membership. Download the Amazon Music app or visit amazon.com/ad-free sports. That's amazon.com/ad-free sports to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads. Enjoy thousands of Acast shows ad-free for Prime members. Some shows may have ads.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to your post-match Raw on Anfield Index Pro, podcasting to you from my field here in beautiful Christmassy rural Ireland. I'm Trev Downey. Joining me to give their immediate reactions to Burnley 0, Liverpool 2 in the Premier League from Turf Moor are Karl Matchett and Guy Drinkel. Karl, that was an odd one. It felt a little bit more frustrating probably than it should have. I'm not sure where or with whom you were watching, but there was very much a bias towards the Burnley lads doing a bit well for a little while, and it seemed to create a little bit of an atmosphere from which Liverpool struggled to get out from under for a little while. And so that frustration did last deep into the match until we got our second goal. The dominance in the first half suggested that we were going to roll out in the second half and do at least something akin to that. As it happens, I think the first shot of the second half was Dom Szoboszlai's late into that half, so we definitely didn't replicate, and even the introduction of the subs seemed to take a while to take any kind of foothold at all. There's a lot for us to pick apart in this one, Karl, but just immediately afterwards, I guess, a big one to get these points over the line in a fairly sort of unpleasant neck of the woods.
Yeah, I mean, I think partly an element of, shall we say, slightly lax approach or slightly complacent possibly for the second half and not maintaining that sort of tempo that we had. But it was so dismally easy, shall we say, to keep hold of the ball and keep circulating and just keep waiting for our opportunity in the first half. Obviously, we should have taken a second chance or a third chance or a fourth chance in the first half anyway. I think we can be fairly happy overall because it wasn't at any point like a big stress, and they didn't have 18 chances cleared off the line to equalise or anything like that at all. I think away days in the Premier League, considering we didn't start the campaign all that well away from Anfield, I'm kind of happy just to take relatively routine 3 points for quite a while, to be perfectly honest. So even if we don't hit the standards 90 minutes in a row, if you pick up the 3 points, I'm pretty happy with that. You know, this win actually takes us to the top of the Premier League, not just in the actual Premier League, which is most important, but in terms of Premier League away form for the season as a whole. Now, obviously, we've played one game more than some of the other teams have now, but still, if you taken 19 points from the 10 matches, considering the start that we've had, it's 3 in a row away from home now that we've won. I think overall, yeah, pretty good day for us.
100%, even just to arrest the comparative worrying trend of the 1-alls was big for sure. And Guy, I mean, we're not going to be able to stagger our way through discussion about this match without talking about the fact that there were other factors which certainly contributed to Liverpool struggling to not win this game comfortably, apart from Liverpool's performance and Burnley's performance. And of course that was because of the performance of a certain baldy little man baby in the centre of the park, who always seems to need to be the centre of attention. And I mean, we'll talk about it, but for me, there's a very good argument to be made for both goals being disallowed completely incorrectly, and either or of them, and it's an entirely different game, and you start to see shoulders slump that instead were sort of perky, and the likes of Odebert seem to grow into the game and attack down our right side quite a bit and get a bit of joy out of it. That I think, had either of those two goals gone in, and like I say, for me, perfectly valid ones, it does sort of put a little bit of a nail in that coffin.
Yeah, I think I think the first one's much more egregious than the second one, because I think technically the Elliott one is offside. It's just how Moore got into the offside position is the fact he's pushed into an offside position. So there's obviously some like grey area, loophole area where, well, he's not offside because he wanted to be offside. Someone just yeeted him offside. So maybe that's something that needs tweaking in the rule book. But the Darwin one, literally any other angle other than the one the referee was shown, it like comprehensively shows he didn't touch the person he fouled. So it's like the wide angle, it shows he's nowhere near him, and then it shows him a zoomed up angle of him, like where you just can't tell anything because of perception. I just really don't understand. Like, it's boring talking about VAR and referees now, but when you watch stuff like that, like you're just not helping yourself. Give him the best angle possible. I know Paul Tierney would have disallowed it anyway, but at least don't make yourself look like corrupt idiots.
Yeah, you really get that feeling that Paul Tierney would have disallowed it anyway. It was his moment to shine, sent to the monitor at the side, and everyone looking at him. He seems to really love that and thrive in it. And we will, no doubt, because we've no choice but to get into discussions about Tierney as we go on. So we may have a slightly delayed ref watch, because I want to get into the lineups, and I'm going to stay with you for Liverpool and go back to Karl for the Burnley one. We went today with Alisson and then Trent, Van Dijk, Quansah and Gomez as our back four. And again, that means Joe Gomez at left back, because we have had a horrible run lately in terms of knocks and injuries. Gravenberch, Endo and Elliott was a midfield that's filling no one with joy or confidence. But again, we have limited options, not just as limited as that midfield might suggest, though. Salah, Gakpo and Nunez was something I think an awful lot of us had predicted, that Diaz might drop to the bench, that Nunez might raid from the left, but him and Cody seem to be pretty fluid in terms of where they were. Our bench then looks solid enough in terms of Kelleher. Konate's there, which I think might have raised a couple of eyebrows. Chambers, Szoboszlai, Jones, McConnell, Bradley, Diaz and Jota. And in Szoboszlai, Jones, Konate, Diaz and Jota, you've got pretty solid first team choices there. So you would have been confident going into it that Jurgen could change it up, even if that first 11 didn't really start in the way that he was hoping. As it is, I guess it did. We kept the ball. We cycled it through possession, but as Karl said, possibly not in the most threatening way on a few occasions in that first half, but it was pretty much dominant. So I guess if you're to give Jurgen his due, he seems to have picked a team that was more than capable of doing what he intended to do.
Well, that's the thing. We've got to remember, I say no disrespect, but I'm about to say something very disrespectful, like everyone who's ever said no disrespect, but we should be able to rotate very heavily and beat Burnley. And we rotated a little bit and should have beat Burnley by at least 3-0, barring the referee man of the match performance. I think the midfield's the only questionable, not even questionable, just eyebrow-raising part of the team, because, like, Gravenberch wasn't great in his Arsenal cameo and had struggled for form recently. Elliott transporting his performances from bench to start has been a bit of an issue, apart from the recent West Ham game. And Endo's played a lot of football in recent times, so can he deal with the 3 games a week? But I thought they were all basically fine. Obviously, Elliott probably should have had a goal. Endo maybe a tad sloppy on the ball. Gravenberch, you still want him to impact the game a bit more, but he did look a bit more switched on than he has recently in bits and in spells and bits. So, again, it's good enough to beat Burnley, and that is the key thing here, is those three players are good enough to beat Burnley, and we did. They performed well enough.
They did, and Karl, feel free to mention Liverpool if you want, but I'm going to ask you to focus primarily on the Burnley setup, because, again, people who are not Burnley watchers on a regular basis will not be as familiar with an awful lot of these names as they would be, obviously, with some other teams. And they had the very impressive Trafford in goal today, who had a great afternoon. Vitinho, O'Shea, Bayer, Taylor, Tresor, Berg, Brownhill, Odebert, Foster and Dooney. On their bench, they had Muric and Roberts and Delcroix. Goodmanson, who came on, as did Ramsey, Cullen, Rodriguez, Redmond, and Bruno Larson. Those two also came on. Now, it's not a lineup to strike fear into your heart, and we should absolutely, regardless of what sort of iteration of Liverpool, be feeling very confident about going out against them. Did you see, or do you see a Vincent Kompany plan there? There was a lot of talk from, I was watching on Premier HD, which is it's an Irish channel. The pundits at halftime and at full time, oh my God, spectacularly bad. But they were very much talking a lot about Kompany as being a sort of a football purist, which I was struggling with the concept. I know they did very, very well in coming up, and I think they might have accrued a record number of points. But of course, it's a very different thing to make that adjustment. I'm wondering what you make of the Kompany era so far, and what it is you think they're trying to do, and whether they managed, in fact, to do it.
So there was obviously a lot of excitement over him last season in the Championship and the way he had Burnley playing. Obviously very, very good results, and the way that they were promoted is testament to that. I'm not going to pretend that I thought they were great or otherwise, because they were in the Championship. I didn't watch a whole lot of them. I think it was about 2 games at the end of the season I caught. So what I would say is probably a little bit of what we've seen from other clubs coming up, where they try to mimic their Championship style and don't quite realise quite quickly enough that you have to be a little bit different in the Premier League, because there are very, very much better players, and a little bit also of early stage managers, probably, where they have a style and they want that to be their way of playing, and they don't alter that when results are not necessarily going tremendously well straight away. So they've been a little bit naive. I think Burnley have quite a nice build-up play, but in both boxes, I've said this a number of times on Scouted, I think in between 2 boxes, they're quite nice to watch. The movement's quite good. The arrangement of players isn't too bad, but in both boxes, I think they're fairly rubbish, to be perfectly honest. They lack real quality in both penalty boxes. I think that Lyle Foster's like a good enough player in terms of his link-up capabilities and his movement off the ball, but he's obviously at this stage not going to be a dozen a season in the Premier League kind of goal scorer. At the back, you mentioned goalkeeper James Trafford, who's had a really, really good run of form lately, but obviously a lot of his game is based on reactions, based on shot stopping, reflexes, one-on-ones, that kind of thing. And he is very, very good at all of that. But that's like your starting point for a goalkeeper, isn't it? If you've got a goalkeeper who's not very good at shot stopping or is not very good at one-on-ones or aerial claims, then really you haven't actually got a goalkeeper, have you? So while he has been in good form, he's needed to be, because that partnership at the back, O'Shea and Bayer, not dramatically excellent. I think Brownhill and Berger in the middle are nice on the ball, but lack a bit of aggression in the middle. So they've got some decent partnerships, but pragmatically speaking, it's not the kind of overall football package which is going to get them points at the minute. And that's obviously reflected in the way that they are in the relegation zone and have been all season long. What I would say is that they got 2 or 3 really, really good players in build-up phases, especially in the wide areas of the pitch. One of them, who I particularly like, is not available to them at the minute. He's got an injury in Luka Koleosho. We saw Odebert come in today. He's basically one of their recent replacements, and I do think that he's a good player as well. 2 really young, tricky, pacey, direct attackers. But yeah, there's a little bit more needed there if they genuinely want a chance in the second half of the season to stay up.
Yeah, where are you in terms of how high you are in the concept of Vincent Kompany as a manager, coach, whatever? Has he got what it takes? We see so many ex-pros, and they kind of sometimes look as if they're almost LARPing in the role. He has had success at the level that he's gone for it as, but maybe not everywhere he's been. What do you make of him in terms of an emerging coach? Would you think he has what it takes?
Oh, bummer. The holidays are over. But yay, your weird relatives left. But no more presents. But yay, you have your freedom again. But there are no more desserts. But there's also no more holiday music, huh? The new year is full of ups and downs. But however you're feeling, you can always be happy with all the content on Prime Video. Catch the new season of Reacher, included with Prime.
Why'd you hit him so hard?
I don't hit soft.
Rent or buy new releases like The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. You can even add on hundreds of streamers, all in one app with one password. No bummers here, just lots of yay. Prime Video, find your happy place. Restrictions apply. Prime membership not required to rent or buy. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details.
Are you that person who has everything? The coolest merch and those must-have fan threads? Well, over at our Anfield Index shop, we've gone that extra mile when it comes to pimping up your Liverpool collection. From our popular range of bespoke design t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies and hats, to our signature edition mugs, prints and coasters, all provided with fast worldwide shipping. We have something for every red. We also stock official LFC merchandise and are licensed with the Premier League and UEFA to sell official iron-on shirt badges and sleeve patches. As a listener to this podcast, you can get 10% off everything with coupon code AIPRO10. Just head over to AnfieldIndex.shop or find us on Etsy by searching for Anfield Index.
I mean, tactically, I don't mind the setup at all. And obviously he's had, let's say, the first fleeting instances of success because he was doing okay with Anderlecht and he got Burnley up. So you can't say it's a wrong way to play or anything like that. I just think that a lot of the time, and you can even look at other areas in the Premier League, like let's say for someone that Liverpool going directly up against, Mikel Arteta at Arsenal, when he started, you could see the way he was trying to play, but he basically refused to go away from that for certain matches, and that really, really cost Arsenal in the first few campaigns. Now, you can take two ways of looking at that. One, that he and Arsenal and the team were willing to take a longer term view on that and make those mistakes to make sure everybody knew how they had to play. But not every club has got that much sort of time frame to make it work, and also they weren't in danger of getting relegated from the Premier League. That's the kind of two sides of the argument there. And Burnley have neither of those two things. They haven't got loads and loads of money and 3 years to throw at it until they get another chance and another chance and another chance. They are going to go down this season if they don't get a lot more points. So I think Kompany's all right. He seems to be very well liked in terms of his man management in the squad. Everybody seems to speak really well of him. But I just think that, if we take a look at, for example, Eddie Howe, like this was a very, very similar setup that Burnley have at the minute to Eddie Howe at Bournemouth, and a similar way of playing. He loves to play out from the back, really good structure down the channels, with the wide players playing slightly narrow, with two players up front trying to link sort of both sides of the centre-backs, if you like, running behind at times, but coming a little bit deeper as well. It's a very similar setup to that. But Eddie Howe at Newcastle has completely transformed his own management game. Like, they're really resolute. They have a really tough central midfield. He's very, very athletic. He's happy to attack in numbers, but always with a base of like 5 players behind the ball. Burnley don't really have that at this point. So it's not like we've seen a second iteration of what Vincent Kompany can be yet. So yeah, he looks like he's got a good game plan for certain types of players or for a certain level. But if you want to be a very, very good manager, I think that the key to proving that is being able to reinvent your team or yourself and play a different sort of way. It's too early, basically, in Kompany's career to say he can or cannot do that or is willing to do that. If you look at the other end of the scale to an Arteta and an Eddie Howe, then maybe Roy Hodgson has not once changed the way that he plays or builds up or defends or anything at all, and therefore there is a ceiling on what you can achieve. I think that's true for all managers, to be honest.
Absolutely fair. From what you're saying, and pretty much where I was myself, I very much watched this space on the mega sculled company. We'll see how it goes with him. 20 minutes is what we're going to take, Guy, you and I, the first 20 minutes. And obviously, the highlight of that comes at the start, where we go a goal up after 5 minutes. And to be fair, the first few minutes had been sort of interesting, if not completely one-sided. The little involvement for Harvey on 3. There was a carry and a shot by them on 4. Neither of them too scary in terms of incidents. But when we go a goal up through Darwin Nunez, it is wonderful. Darwin himself kind of starts the move, getting a kind of foot in around the centre of the park, which ends up with him on the deck. But he gets himself up and moves towards goal, because the ball had broken to Cody Gakpo from his intervention. Cody had carried the ball up the left-hand side, and he does very well to centre it to Darwin, who has found a little bit of space just inside the box. And his first-time right-footed finish is absolutely sublime. I mean, it's hit with power, precision, accuracy. It's a gorgeous goal. End of story. One of those ones that makes you breathe a big, big sigh of relief about this player, because just when you're thinking, does he? Yes, he does. He has literally everything. He has everything you could want from a footballer. And it's very, very enjoyable. And obviously, you'll go back and dwell on that. But just let me take you through a few of the other incidents in that first 20 you might want to touch on, because straight afterwards, Gravenberch broke into the box. His shot was pretty poor. It was blocked and saved. On 7 minutes, Mo has an effort tipped over the bar after a really decent set by Darwin Nunez that led to a corner. On 9, there was a big Trent diagonal bomb of a pass that dropped for Cody Gakpo, who pulled off the back of the defender, and he's on his left foot, but his half volley is incredibly wild. It's a poor effort. Van Dijk puts a beautiful ball into Cody a minute later. His control was poor again. And this is like all in the first 10. On 11, Brownhill actually managed to register their first sort of attempt, an inside the foot effort from the edge of the box. It was narrowly wide, to be fair. Gravenberch in for what should have been a 60-40 tackle soon after that, on about 12 minutes. And he gets clobbered because he's second to the ball somehow, this massive unit who's got pace. And he's on the deck, and I'm shouting at him, going, oh my God, I was so... I'll be honest, the completely un-PC question I've written in my notes is this lad a total fucking fanny? Because I was just like, what? How is he not getting that? How's he not winning that? Or at least breaking up the other lad? On 16, to be fair, he does intercept the pass, and he plays it to Darwin. Darwin tries to get it back to Mo. Cody nearly gets in again. 17, Darwin centres. Again, Gakpo just can't quite get there. It's a great ball across the face by Darwin, but Cody's nowhere near. And on 20, after a great spell of pressure, yet another Gakpo effort blocked at his feet. So he's heavily involved, but not in the way you'd like him to be. So Gakpo's someone you're going to have to mention. Darwin's another. I'll leave it up to you, but I'd like, if you wouldn't mind, a mention of Gravenberch as well.
Yeah, I'll start with the goal. I think that's a really nice goal. Obviously, Darwin just wins it and it falls to Cody, as you say. Really nice pass. And I'm not sure if you got the angle or not. We did for Amazon. There's like a camera from behind their goal, and it's like literally perfection, the shot. He is just the funniest footballer, isn't he? Like, if he was shooting an open goal and there was no keeper there, I think I'd have less confidence in him trying to score that than the goal he actually did. But no, it's a phenomenal finish. And I can't remember, is it 8 games, 12 games? I can't remember what it was that he's not scored in. I may be wrong with those numbers, but they are in my head for some reason. So it's definitely a monkey he needs to get off his back, because I think he has provided a couple of assists in that long stretch, but when he's not in the team to get assists. If he does get them, that's great. But when the way we usually play, with more a bit wider nowadays, he was a bit narrow at times today. He needs to be the one who's lethal in the box, and he has missed those opportunities. But to score a lovely goal like that, it's always a bonus, and hopefully he builds on that, because he did play well today. Maybe there's some times where he should have shot, for instance. I can't remember if that was in the first 20 minutes where he tried to do that stupid back heel to Moore. But opportunities like that he needs to start taking more so than the long-range goals. But Cody, I thought Cody, till half-time, was probably our most effective player. I think he screwed up some things, like that wild volley, for instance. He probably should take that down. But if he thinks he can score a worldie goal, why not? But I think I'd rather have that version of Cody where he's involved than the one we've had probably most of the season so far, where he just basically on the periphery of everything. It might have been the West Ham game. I know he got a goal in that, but he always seemed to be on the edge of the box, just waiting for the game to come to him, where I think today, especially only the first half, the second half he didn't really do much. He was getting himself more involved. He got the assist, obviously, and he got himself into those opportunities that you listed. So I'd rather this version of Cody where he can be wasteful than the one who scores his one shot but does bugger all else. On Gravenberch, I mentioned in the intro bit, I think he was better than he was recently, but you are right. There is something missing that we've kind of only had in Liverpool midfielders since Klopp's here, and that is the take everything at once, the Brexit gene type thing, where they'll go in for every tackle or something. Maybe that can be coached into him with time, maybe it can be coached into him with fitness, but I don't know, is that not just a natural thing? It is a bit of a worry, because when he is in his stride, and we even see it with the odd little flicks and tricks today, he is a lovely footballer, but in terms of like Neil Warnockism, if he's going to die for 3 points, I think, do you not have to be born with that? Which is kind of a worry, but I think it wasn't a big worry today where he was in the last few games, but it is, when you're looking 6'3", fast as anything, as you mentioned, it's almost a lazy one, and I know Yaya Toure was a bit of a late bloomer because he was more of a defensive player to begin with. But you looked how Yaya was like the best player in every game he played for at least 30 seconds. This is what this lad should be. And I know he's only 21, yada, yada, yada. But he does have to start impacting games, because we mentioned it on the Raw for the Arsenal game. If we start getting lads back, he'll lose his spot on the bench. He will become a Europa League player for Liverpool if Touchwood Thiago comes back, if Bajcetic comes back, if McAllister comes back, and if we dare buy anyone in January. So he does need to start making impacts in games, because Thiago bloody will. We know that.
It's a really good point. That's a really good point, and I was nodding along as I was listening to you guys on that show making that point, because you say he's not worried. I find myself a little bit worried about him, because I want him. The reason I'm worried, just for the record, is not because I'm writing the kid off or anything like that. It's because we need everyone to be performing at the top end, and if we are going to snatch something as miraculous as a Premier League title, and I say miraculous, that's not to do us down, but it's a big, big ask. But you've got Paul fucking Tierney taking goals off you left, right and centre, and you've got horrendous decisions now that are just objectively shit in game after game after game. So if you're against the odds and your players are dropping like flies through injuries, you do need the players who are there to keep doing the magic, and it just felt as if that kid was way off it today for me. Look, you could probably say the same about Harvey Elliott, but Harvey's put his hand up a lot recently, so you would always get a pass from me on today's performance on that basis. If we push on through to the end of the second half, Karl, you and I, feel free to go back and dip into anything you want to there, including the goal if needs be. But about 21 minutes, I think it's the first yellow card of the game. It's Berg on Gravenberch. Trent has a lovely little bit of a flick in the box for Darwin. I thought most of the progressive stuff Trent did today was exemplary. I thought he looked really good. Most of his ball connection and passing was excellent. It's where you'd want it to be. the geniuses on Premier HD were trying to say that he had been poor defensively. Kenny Cunningham, ex-Ireland international, was absolutely haranguing Trent for his defensive work today because, Kenny Cunningham. But Brownhill should probably pick up a yellow for a very wild tackle on Joe Gomez soon after that little flick by Trent on the 22nd minute. And we do have the ball in the net on 27. I'm going to pause it here, actually, because I want you to talk about this and then we'll walk through the rest. This is the first of the disallowed goals. Cody Gakpo buries it. It's his second attempt. He has a shot that comes back into play, and VAR say that there's a foul by Darwin Nunez as Cody Gakpo advances towards the ball to strike it really powerfully and really, really definitively home to the back of the net on a second attempt. But when you watch it, there is no contact from Darwin Nunez. And so therefore the only possible reason to disallow the goal is not a reason because it doesn't exist. And so I don't see anything there clear and obvious. I don't see any reason why there'd be any sort of issue about disallowing it. I stand open to correction. I'm interested in your take on this. And like I say, it's worth stopping here because it feels like burying the lead if we don't talk about this first.
Fair enough. So my take on this, which obviously, depending on what is said after the game or whatever, is absolutely able to be wrong. But my take on this is, firstly, VAR didn't disallow it. The referee did. So the only thing VAR is doing here is telling the referee to overturn his initial decision if it's clear and obvious that he's made a mistake.
Right.
Now, while I mostly agree that there's not really any foul there that I can absolutely see, there was also no angle shown on any of the replays, which absolutely definitively showed that he didn't make any touch. Like, there was a couple of replays from sort of, shall we say, the front and the back of the players, where you can sort of see Nunez's left leg is sort of raised a little bit and the defender sort of runs across him kind of thing, but there's no side angle, so you can't see any gap between them, is what I mean. So I'm assuming that therefore there was no way to say this looks an absolute howler, mate, because we can see that there's no contact here. So that's why I'm thinking it wasn't overturned or even told him to go to look at the monitors or anything of the sort, because the referee ruled it out, not VAR. So
okay,
VAR
so let me jump in here two-footed on you. And I just So what we're saying is, and this is very much my take as well, Karl, 100% my take as well. It seems as though we are once again hiding behind the nonsense that is clear and obvious, because it's a nonsense for the following reason. In my opinion, and again, feel free to tell me I'm talking shite. I find it to be a nonsense because for me what it is a lovely, big, furry coat of protection around the little fella in the centre, lest his feelings be hurt by those guys, the bad men back home, who are telling him from Stockley Park or wherever, hey, listen, lad, you've got that wrong. I can't say that to you now, Chief, because it's not clear and obvious, in my opinion. And so for me, it feels a little bit like that cloak that they've been hiding behind. And so that's why I find this infuriating. I understand what you're saying. There's no definitive take. But again, if there's no definitive take on him making contact, then it's not clear and obvious that he made contact either. So it works both ways, right?
It does. It does. And I don't necessarily think this is a good decision to begin with. It kind of, in real time, did look like it was a foul. But then when you saw like any of the replays, none of them looked like they were a foul. So I do agree with what you're saying, but it kind of has to be one way round or the other. Like they can't chop and change the changing, if you know what I mean, just because they got it wrong the other way to normal. Like normally we would say they got it wrong because they didn't give the foul, is what really we usually have a gripe at VAR, or the referee rather, on the pitch about, and VAR has to then change it. And sometimes VAR doesn't give it because the bar of the foul isn't high enough, or whatever other guff they come out with on a bi-weekly basis or whatever. So it's the same but different. It's the other way around today, and it is frustrating. But I'd be honest, when I saw those replays, although I didn't think that the reason he gave the foul was therefore in the first place. I also didn't think that one was going to be overturned, to be honest, because there wasn't like a definitive proof of that him being wrong. Not from those ones that we saw anyway. Probably will be on Twitter in about half an hour from now, because that's what usually happens.
Denise has been playing jazz for 40 years. Last concert, one of the musicians fell sick with RSV. Respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, is a highly contagious virus that can lead to breathing problems. This time, she's choosing to help protect herself with Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo. Abrysvo is a vaccine for the prevention of lower respiratory tract disease caused by respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, in adults 60 years of age and older. Abrysvo is not for everyone and may not protect all who receive the vaccine. Don't get Abrysvo if you've had a severe allergic reaction to its ingredients. People with a weakened immune system may have a decreased response to Abrysvo. The most common side effects are tiredness, headache, pain at the injection site, and muscle pain. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine. For full prescribing information, please call 1-844-989-7284 or visit abrysvo.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Hello, I'm here to annoy you. I'm here to annoy you into listening to more of me and more of others on EPL Index. We don't just have the Anfield Index stuff. We've got EPL Index as well, which covers the entirety of the Premier League. And we have 3 podcasts and a whole bunch of really good writing on EPLindex.com. The podcasts are my own Two-Footed podcast, which is every day at 4 p.m, Monday through Friday, covering the whole league. We have A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. You know Tadiwa, he does Anfield Index. He presents A Tad Predictable before every Premier League match week. And then Kevin De Vries and his crew on the EPL Roundtable, they're every week after the Premier League match week. So make sure you listen to everything we're doing on EPL Index and follow us there on Twitter at EPL Index. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, listen, man, do you know what? You're right. It's fair enough. I think I've just got cumulative shit decision fatigue, to be perfectly honest with you.
It's perfectly normal though, isn't it? Because we've had quite a lot of them, and we've had really, really obviously stupid ones this season. And so all the ones which come after, especially let's say after the Diaz one, just adds up to the cumulative effect.
For sure. Now, I do want you in the remaining part of the first half that we're going to chat about briefly to talk, if you would, about Endo. I might start there with you, Guy, before we get into the second half proper, then you and I with Endo, so you might be formulating a few thoughts on him, because he kind of needs talking about too. He's a guy who I really wanted to do well. He's a guy who I think we can all say struggled to find his feet, and then seemed to have emerged as a very solid citizen indeed. I think there's an argument to made this afternoon that he struggled a little bit in terms of the physical aspects of the game, which is a little bit disappointing, because I thought that's what he had started to show himself to be, was a little hard bastard. But there was a couple of occasions today where it was either a lack of awareness or just lack of physical strength, but he got himself surrounded and smothered and swarmed upon and gave the ball away a few times. And there were some very good interventions by Endo as well. It was important we say that. Some of those came after terrible mistakes. So it's a bit of a curate's egg of a performance. So if you wouldn't mind, I wouldn't mind getting something, Karl, from you on Endo, and you can extend it out into the second half, your second half take on him as well if you want, just to talk about what happens after we finally end up with that ball in the net. There is actually one of the best contributions by Gakpo in the first half, is this gorgeous through ball that he plays to Mo Salah on 33 minutes, and Salah's half volley rattles the bar. It's a lovely effort. There was some talk about a potential handball, and no doubt if it had gone in, Tierney would have found that handball to be deliberate. But yeah, Endo gets caught napping for, I think, the second time in a couple of minutes on about 38 minutes. The 38-minute mark, and Trent had to do really well defensively. Of course, Kenny Cunningham didn't see that, the stupid mallet, as they countered. He was the last man. He got a good foot in. It was a very important little intervention. On 39, Endo, then the other side of the pitch and the other side of his performance, actually has a really neat left-footed shot tipped round the post. and we end up with a corner, and then another corner off a Joe Gomez half volley that I think probably was going off target but gets deflected anyway. On 41 minutes, Mo has yet another effort saved after a lovely move involving Trent and Harvey Elliott. 2 minutes were added, but nothing happened in them. So just to wrap up your first half thoughts, because, you know, I felt a little bit sorry for Endo. He was left in a midfield unit with two lads who are sort of famously not really good at the defensive thing. Harvey is a wonderful player, but that's not his bag, and everybody knows that, except it appears Jurgen. And Gravenberch, for whatever he is, he certainly ain't that guy. So I felt a little bit sorry for him in terms of being a little bit overwhelmed at times, but that he did look at times, Karl.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, it was quite often 1 against 2 in there, to be honest, because while we did have quite good mobility from, let's say, Harvey especially, but also Gravenberch when he was doing his first half little turns past a couple of their players, it was then a case of Brownhill and Berg, because they're not very quick at getting back at the minute. They don't really seem to be particularly agile. They were then ahead of the play from a Burnley perspective and up against only Endo from our perspective. So I think it was a little bit of that. I also think that while Endo, I would kind of agree in what you said, that he was, putting himself out as a bit of I'm not sure I'd quite go as far as a hard bastard, but certainly an annoying narc in terms of one-on-ones and so on. He's definitely doing a bit of that, but I think a lot of that is in maybe direct confrontations or direct duels rather than when he's got to sort of run into them, if you know what I mean, because he himself is not incredibly agile. He's not rapid at like changing direction and then getting sort of 2 or 3 yards and then getting his body in front of somebody like some of our other previous holding midfielders, let's say. So I don't mind how Endo has been playing at all, to be honest. I don't expect him to win every challenge. I don't expect him to be incredible at recovery challenges either. He has a very specific role for us, and I think the best thing that he's done over the last few weeks is going to be the change that he has in knowing when to press, because he does from that base of midfield press really high up and wins quite a lot of his foot-ins and tackles and second balls, and is there for like a little bounce pass and all the rest of it from a much higher position than 3 months ago when he was starting out for us. That's quite a big thing, and that's what's allowed us to be much, much better in recent games at not just regaining the ball quicker, but then our passing and our recycling of next move starts much, much higher up the pitch. I think he has contributed quite a lot to that. So I do think he did that again today. And the only thing I'll say for second half is that you saw, one, where that was really good, and two, the other side of his game still has quite a lot of improving to happen, and they were both very late on in the game. So one is the pass right across his own sort of, not the edge of the penalty box, but about halfway between penalty box and halfway line, which goes straight to an opposition player and gives up a big chance. And then much later on where he does go and win the ball and sets away a bigger chance for us, which thankfully has a different outcome.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect summation, actually, those 2 moments in the second half of his outing today, which I thought, and to be fair, I think the second of those two was far more typical of, in terms of a moment to sum him up, of his more recent outings. I think there's absolutely a player in there. I was getting very, very high on the kid, to be fair. And so it's important to acknowledge what you're saying there, that there are plenty of positives, even in probably not his best afternoon this afternoon. That foot in there, which leads to the second goal, is the anti-Gravenberch moment from the first half, which I was speaking to Guy about earlier on. And Guy, let's you and I start the second half, because we're going to start with yet another controversial moment. I don't know how far we should take this. Let's say we do about 65 or 6 minutes, where maybe up until where we introduce the subs. And to be fair, even though we didn't conjure attempts on goal at the rate that we did in the first half, we very much did dominate possession in the opening 7, 8, 10 minutes. And we were camped sort of between halfway line and their goal, playing the ball from side to side, with nothing of any note happening until 54 minutes, Guy. And Harvey Elliott has a lovely goal, buried But it goes again for more VAR fun, and Tierney is sent to the monitor again because apparently Mo Salah was ruled to be offside and in the line of sight of the keeper, and therefore interfering with play when Harvey buries it. Now, it's a lovely, lovely move that results in the goal. I had all the details mentioned, and I was like, what's the point in even talking about it, because it didn't exist, it's not real. But credit to Harvey Elliott, and I think that goal was really typical of what we can expect from this kid. He has an ability level, a technique level that not many players have in the Premier League, and it was just a gorgeous finish. However, like I say, ruled out because Mo Salah was adjudged to be in an offside position. And again, this is where we get to have a look at Paul Tierney, a man who clearly is so in love with himself that he was relishing every moment that all eyes were on his baldy little pate as he was staring into that monitor. And I wouldn't mind just, again, like I did with Karl, just pausing here because, again, it feels like burying the lead if we don't talk about this immediately. The takeaway here that I have, my gripe, and I know it's one that you shared, at least in our chat pre-show, was it looks very much to me as if Mo Salah has been shoved, because he has. And as a result, then, he's not really in a position to get himself anywhere other than in the line of sight. That's probably, much as it might pain me, not enough of a reason. Like, it wasn't his fault. It's possibly not enough of a reason. It's just, again, the cumulative thing. The Tierney in front of the monitor. It really starts to grate at this stage, Guy.
Yeah, the annoying thing is, I think it technically is offside, but I'm sure many people have seen the picture of the Man City one from the Fulham game. I'm guessing it's this season, where it's the same incident, and Man City obviously get a goal because Man City referees are just a vibe. Oh, Villa have gone 2-0 up against United. Just in the corner of my eye there. Sorry. So it technically is offside. And it is annoying because, as you say, he's pushed offside. I mean, you can't really give a penalty for that because it's not a foul. It's not forceful enough to be a foul. But there's definitely a gap in the rule book there where if someone gets pushed and it causes something like this, I mean, could it be an indirect free kick or a drop ball or something stupid like that? Because he didn't willingly go offside. He just got shoved by his centre-back. So it's not his fault he's offside. It's annoying because it spoiled a really nice goal. Because it was Gravenberch showing what he can do, as we mentioned him a little bit earlier, and Elliott, who maybe didn't have the biggest impact in the game, but he was showing nice little moments. I think him playing a bit wider was letting Mo play a bit narrower, or more narrow, and basically being able to play central, and the other two lads could float around him at times. So I think in terms of the system, it's working quite well, and it's a fantastic finish as well. Like, it's basically perfect bottom corner, unsavable. It's just annoying because he is offside, but he's not his fault he's offside. So it's probably going to be a rare occasion that ever pops up again. But if they ever do rejig the rule book, as boring as this conversation is, maybe it's just something that needs to drop ball, indirect free kick, as I say, but it's just more annoying. Like, the first one's more egregious to me. This one's more annoying.
Tired of ads interrupting your favorite show? Good news. Ad-free listening on Amazon Music is included with your Prime membership. Download the Amazon Music app or visit amazon.com/ad-free sports. That's amazon.com/ad-free sports to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads. Enjoy thousands of Acast shows ad-free for Prime members. Some shows may have ads.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit libertyshield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Yeah, it's annoying, but I do think if you're going to be offside, there has to be, like, where I'm going with this is you run into an offside position deliberately. It's an intentional action by you, and it's the incorrect action. If you're shoved into that position, I think there's possibly a cause for, well, that's the kind of grey area where we should allow the goal to stand. But, you know, again, it seems almost as if in both of these incidents, I'm being completely irrational about how shit Paul Tierney is, and I refuse.
Oh, I always talk about that.
Yeah, I refuse that to be the tempo or the tone that we take away from this show, because he is a horrible little bollocks. And the thing is, Guy, if we continue to talk about the first half of the second half, to be fair, Darwin has to put in a great defensive block. I think it's an O'Shea effort from a corner, and Darwin's in a perfect position. Otherwise, we're buggered, and Tierney's had the Tierney effect. They bring on Goodmanson for Tresor on 60 minutes, and of course, the whole stadium's up for it now. You know, now they're up for it because Tierney's disallowed 2 goals, and the game is not dead anymore, and all of a sudden they get some sort of a little feel for maybe getting something out of the game. Certainly our pals in the commentary were so excited about that possibility, but it is very much the refereeing sort of input here that's enlivened them. And on 66 minutes we take on Luis Diaz, Dom Szoboszlai and Curtis Jones for Harvey, Cody and Gravenberch. And they're exactly the 3 that you would probably have hooked. And that's exactly the 3 that you would probably put on. And you would like to think that that would have a fantastic immediate impact. But we're going to go, I lied, we're going to go up as far as the 75th minute, because on 67 minutes, the first thing that happens after we get our subs on the pitch is a minute later, Goodmanson has a fantastic bloody chance to head the ball home after Odebert pretty much does up our entire left, right side like a kipper, pings over a lovely cross. Goodmanson basically does a dome bouncer over the top when he's got all the time in the world to at least get on target and worry Ali. And on 72, we do try to up the ante a little bit. There's a great move involving Darwin and Trent. Trent puts in a deep cross where actually there was a ball inside to Mo Salah, which was far more intelligent. But I'm not going to dig Trent out because I thought his passing and delivery was very good. Anyway, Curtis does get on the end of that cross, heads it back across goal in a very dangerous fashion. And then on 75, we saw a brilliant bit of work by Darwin Nunez again on the dead ball line, their dead ball line. He basically just stuck his arse out, and he was being fouled without any doubt. He was being held, pawed, assaulted, and he just holds his position, and again wins the corner, wins the free kick, because it was absolutely about 3 free kicks in one. And I think that ended up with a bit of a chance where the ball was nodded into the mixer by Van Dijk. So we'll pause it there at 75, just to talk about the introduction of subs. I'm sure you got some thoughts on that, and how they didn't possibly have the exact effect we'd like to have had them to have immediately in terms of solidifying us and killing any hope these fuckers had.
Yeah, it was strange, wasn't it? Because as you mentioned, they'd be the subs you'd want Klopp to make, and they still are, even when they had their best spell post the goal being disallowed. Maybe that just did spur them on, and it didn't matter who was on the pitch for us, because that Odebert, like, I don't know too much about him. It's that Collie Osho, if that's how you pronounce his name. I know who was obviously injured. I know he's their main danger man who usually plays that side of the pitch. But they just seem to have loads of FM regions, which is just exciting. But he just seemed to come into the game, and it was him against our whole right-hand side, and he basically got them up the pitch, which is a boring cliche, but it was. He basically was their driving force to drag them into the game, got the crowd up, roasted Trent once or twice, but that was it, basically. I don't know why people would be slagging Trent too much, other than one or two incidents in this 15-minute spell. That's about it. But he was the only one who seemed to be doing pretty much anything from the Burnley perspective. But yeah, they just seemed to be up for it. Goodmanson had the best chance, as you say. He should have at least tested Ali in that situation, but he just didn't. Berg had a couple half chances, but nothing huge. I can't remember what minute it was, but the stat popped up on Amazon that Ali didn't have a save to make, whereas Trafford had 8 or 9 at some stage. So they had a little spell. Apart from that Goodmanson one, they were all half, if not even quarter chances. So, yeah, there's a spell, and then there's a big spell. And I don't even think that was anywhere near a big spell. But in terms of the subs, yeah, it was strange, wasn't it? Because, as you've mentioned, it wasn't really the most balanced midfield. I thought the attack was working. Maybe we needed to get them more involved in the second half. So that might have been the only thing, was bringing Diaz on. Maybe that one wasn't necessary, but we are in a busy period, so that's fair enough. And we probably would have been bringing Jota on later anyway, which we obviously did. So, yeah, the other subs, Dom and Jones coming up, it just makes sense. They should be our first choice midfield. Maybe we could have just brought Jones on because he seems to get the best out of every other midfielder, so maybe keep a bit more continuity. But I can't say anything about what Klopp did. They were the right decisions. They were fine decisions. Burnley just had a little patch in the game.
Yeah, unfortunate timing for sure. And I'm going to come back to you then for your wrap-up thoughts, so you can be putting those together. I will finish with Karl's, but Karl, let's you and I see out the rest of the game here now, because from the point that I left off, I think the next thing that happens with No is that Trent gets a very soft yellow card given against him. Quansah, who I thought was excellent all afternoon, was absolutely brilliant versus Amdouni on 79 minutes. When he needed to be. It was an important little intervention by him. On 81, Dom Szoboszlai showed a little bit of what he can do by carrying the ball and hitting it from distance, not far over the top. That on 81 minutes, and this probably says a lot, was our first attempt of the second half, having completely dominated the chance creation in the first. That we had 14 or 15 chances in the first half. That's our first one. In the second, and it's at that point that Jota comes on for Nunez. They bring on Redmond and I think Larsson for Amdouni and Foster. And a little word at this point for Ali's kicking today was fucking horrendous. This is the best man in the world potentially is Alisson Becker. But you just have to say things when they're true. I think I counted 5 atrocious passes by Ali today. That's the kind of thing you just don't need when you're already in a wildly precarious position in terms of your ability to go top of the league. You don't want to see that kind of shit from Ali. So enough of that, please, sir. You are clearly far better than that. On 85, Trent has a beautiful volley, chests it and volleys it with his left foot. It's actually a very good aerial knockdown from Endo to set it up. Now, Guy said there was no more chances. Larsson did have a good one. Endo gives the ball away, that other moment that he mentioned earlier on as well. And Larsson's central, he should fucking bury it, and he doesn't, and we are off the hook again. And in a different world, it's 1-1, and everyone's crying because the league is gone. So maybe, a little bit of credit where it's due for a little bit of good luck in our favour in that case. 87 minutes, Luis Diaz had an effort saved after a great Trent Alexander-Arnold ball. Diaz tries to finish it, I think, with his left foot across goal. But the keeper gets down. He was excellent all afternoon, to be fair to him. And we do go 2-0 ahead through the substitute Jota on 89 minutes. And this is the other side of Endo's game. We've already mentioned it. A big foot in. Like I said, the anti-Gravenberch moment from the first half. The ball sort of breaks to Jota. He plays in Diaz. Diaz waits for Jota to run past him on the outside and kind of flicks it out to him. Jota's got no angle. He takes a touch with his right foot to bring it into an even narrower angle. And then, like I say, from zero angle, he hits it through the keeper's legs, across the face of the goal with his left foot. It is outrageous. It's exactly what we need at this time, especially if Salah's going to go AWOL for a while. 5 minutes are added. Liverpool, top of the league, is getting chanted. Lots of other great things like "Come on, you faithful!" Everybody's joyful and triumphant, and it's fantastic. And the match ended with a lovely, disdainful catch by Ali on the whistle. So we end up absolutely, Karl, with our tails up. And bear in mind, I am coming back to you to finish the show for your final thoughts, so you probably don't want to roll too many of those in here. But anything about that section of the game, including the clincher from Jota?
Yes, I mean, I think Guy had it pretty much spot on where, Burnley had a spell, but it wasn't like a big spell. It wasn't a massive spell of pressure. Like I said earlier, they didn't have chances blocked and cleared off the line and all that. You can't really go 90 minutes of playing football and the other team don't get in your penalty box. And we did a large portion of today without them doing that, but they are going to have some of the ball. So, if the most threatening things we get is crossing and that kind of thing, then I think we've defended pretty well all game long, one way or another. Their big chance that you mentioned, and Goodmanson with his header miles over the bar, it was actually a far worse header than his other one in the game. Was actually him standing up by the touchline and purposely heading. I can't honestly remember if it was Cody Gakpo or maybe Ryan Gravenberch before he went off or someone like that in the chest, basically after he wanted a free kick and it wasn't given, and he sort of lifts himself up and basically heads them in the chest. That quite annoyed me, and I thought the ref should have had something to say about that, but obviously did not. The rest of the game, I mean, I never really thought Burnley were going to score, I'll be honest. They just didn't have anything at all, so I wasn't expecting a late concession of a goal. But there's always that fear of, matches and years gone by that we've spoken about before as well, where you just wonder, just in case we do something daft or like the Endo pass, just gifts them that chance. So it was quite important, I think, that we went and got a second goal, which we obviously deserved, at least from the first half play. Really nice that Jota's come back from injury and gives us that additional potential shooting capacity from different angles, different places, different feet even. Overall, I think this is an absolutely fine win. Like I said at the top of the show, to be honest, 2-0 away from home in the Premier League is always a very good result, regardless of who you're playing, how bad they are, how many points from safety they are, all the rest of it. You just have to sometimes go and get the job done in not dramatic fashion, and that's okay. And today we did that, and that is really all that we could have asked for.
Yeah, on the back of, I guess, 2 weeks in a row where, you can make all the excuses in the world about Manchester United and that game being a one-off and Arsenal and them being title challengers. Both games, it felt we didn't get the job done. I think that exact thing is something to lean into. What you've mentioned there, it is over the line. It was achieved, despite the fine efforts of Burnley at times in their wee spell and one or two other occasions, and Paul Tierney and his crew trying to help them out a little bit as well. And so, Guy, comes to you to give us your wrap-up thoughts on the game in general, and also I know you will have at least one or two things to plug for us at the end.
Yeah, I just really wanted to talk about Jota. It's nice having him back. Kind of forgot he came on, to be honest. The game was that crap towards the end. But it was a really nice finish. I did think Diaz screwed it up at the start. I was like, he's fucked that. But no, I mean, out of all the saves their keeper made, to let that one in at the near post, I was like, could you not just let one of Salah's little worldly chances in?
I know.
Just let us have less. It's Boxing Day. Just let us not stress for 60 minutes, you twat.
I mean, that sounds to me like a man who has Mohamed Salah as captain in his FPL team, I'll be honest.
I couldn't actually tell you. Let's have a look. It might still be Haaland, who's been injured and in a different country. Let's have a look. This is Smashing radio. I'm currently on 4 points. It's not a good sign.
Oh dear.
My
dear. That's nearly as many as Burnley are, to be honest.
Yeah, I have 3 points from Salah and 1 from Watkins, who's currently playing United, so there's hope yet. My captain is Julian Alvarez against Everton tomorrow night, so we have hope, ladies and gentlemen. I can't forget what I was saying. It's a nice goal by Jota. It's nice to have him back because I think we know Mo goes away in a couple of weeks now, isn't it? So having someone who he's not as a regular goal scorer and assister, and we can't really play through Jota the way we play through Mo, but someone who is just pops up with a goal. I term it terrorism football, where he will be the worst player on the pitch and he'll score a goal. That's what we kind of need, because we've seen games where, say, Darwin, he'll come on, he'll stretch play, but his shooting will be awful. Jota can literally look like he's never played football before, and he'll score a goal like that where he'll skin 3 people and score. We need someone other than Mo who'll do that, because Darwin can do that, but he needs to learn the offside rule still. So who knows with him? Diaz, as I mentioned, we kind of mentioned in this recent spell, he's just not doing too much. So having Jota back is just having someone who can contribute to the boring statistical coldness of under pressure of just getting G plus A, lads. That's all we need. It's all we bloody need. So having him back is fantastic. We've not really talked about the defence because other than that little spell, like, Quansah was really good. There was that one moment where he had to slide tackle. That was about it. I think Van Dijk got Amazon's man of the match. He didn't really have much to do. It was just one of those games where it was, if you watch that back, you'd think, why was I ever stressing over this game? Because we were never really losing that game other than the referee giving out a 90th minute penalty for a handball in their box somehow, which is very possible with that mobhead in charge. But yeah, if we watch that game back, nobody'd be stressed. It was just a very comfortable, not great game of football, but that's how teams win leagues. They'll just turn up and just be superior to sides without playing well. And I think that's what we were today. And that's a really good sign, because we have Newcastle on Monday, I think it is, who aren't playing too well, but will have to play better than that. And we know we bloody can, because the Arsenal game, we've seen that. We played really well in that game. We play like that against basically 17 teams in this league, will win every game. So we know there's different levels in there. And relegation fodder like Burnley, we don't even have to play too well to win.
Which is lovely. Which is a lovely way to think about things. In terms of anything in particular you wouldn't mind throwing people's eyes on, bear in mind myself and Karl will be talking about what we're talking about. Anything else you want to direct people towards over the next few days between now and 5 days, I think, between now and the Monday night game against Newcastle?
I'm guessing I will be on Fridays two-footed, because I think Dave said he'll be back Thursday. I think the next episode 800 of that, so drop Dave a congratulate message or something like that. I've been there in the background for most of them, so I'm part of it, so you can congratulate me as well. But yeah, I think next one's 800, but I'll probably be on the one after next.
Right, that's just stupid numbers. Fair play to all concerned, especially, of course, young Hendrik and his ridiculous machine ability to crank out podcasts on a regular basis of very high quality for this channel. And if for some reason you are new to the channel and you haven't listened to Dave on a regular basis, fix that, will you? Karl, what about you for final thoughts and wrap-ups?
I'm not sure we've mentioned this at all or enough anyway, but my final wrap-up thought, is that you were top of the league, and that's very, very nice, isn't it? After we kind of missed out on doing so last time around, I feel it would be remiss to not mention that at least a couple more times before the end of the show. One we've not spoken about in too much, but actually I just want to quickly mention Joe Gomez as my wrap-up thought, if you like, or given the time of year, my unwrap thoughts, if that's better.
Nice.
I thought he was really good. I know he's obviously going to be a very, very different kind of player to the other left backs we have in the squad, but I think he does it quite well in his own way. He's really proactive. He's not afraid to go on the outside on his left boot and cross. He's happy to do the overlap stuff. I just think he just is doing a very, very good job, even of like really energetic, good pace, all that kind of thing that you need from an outlet player, even if it's not technically or creatively the most Trent Alexander-Arnold kind of level ever. That's fine, because he does it in his own way and he's defensively good, and I think he did quite a lot of good work for us today, so I just think he deserves a mention, and surely he's going to score this season.
Yeah, I'm delighted you brought Joe into it, because I was made to look quite foolish, as if I was one of the galaxy brain idiots that I've been haranguing all season when I was saying, like, I'm just not sure about this Costas thing. And then Costas, with his indifferent form, sort of bore that out a little bit, but Joe made a bollocks of it with one bad outing in his first go at left back. Today, I think you're dead right to focus on his solidity there today. I thought he was excellent. I thought, again, across the back four, it's easy for us to come away from Burnley and think, well, we've dominated the ball, so we don't really need to talk too much about the defence, unless it's to point out that Trent's actually a good defender at times when everyone else is on his back. But every one of those guys did a good job. And it is important to say, I'm glad you did. And just between now and Newcastle, obviously there will be a scouted for that. What else can we expect from you, Karl?
Yeah, so we didn't do a scouted for Burnley, as someone did mention in the Discord channel. Apologies for that, but the only day off that there was to record it was indeed not a day off. That was Christmas Day, so we weren't doing it. But that we will be back for Newcastle and all the many, 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 many matches which lie beyond. Written-wise, nothing on Liverpool, but I'll have a couple of pieces out between now and the end of the year on probably state of play of the Champions League, quite possibly a look at, around Europe and where we are for that. And obviously then will be, no doubt, lots of transfer stuff to get our teeth into.
Oh, God, yeah. I'd forgotten that's right around the corner, isn't it? Jesus. How did I? Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, that reminds me then. Obviously, myself and Dave Davis will be doing transfer shows.
I was going to say, good job you don't host a transfer show.
Yeah. Up the wazoo. Transfer shows between now and the end of the window for myself and Dave, starting very soon. I know you had enough to go just before Christmas for one, so it should only be added to now. Yeah, that'll be for me. We'll have myself and Jan back, and just in the same vein, if you're not listening to what's happening from young Karl, or if you're not reading his words, then you're missing out on one of the best to do it. So do read whatever Karl's churning out there on a regular basis for the Independent, and do, of course, listen to that scouted for the upcoming game against Newcastle, which is starting to look very mouth-watering indeed. And yeah, Liverpool are top of the league, as Karl so correctly points out. I think unless Aston Villa rack up some ridiculous score, we'll stay there.
It's very possible.
It's very possible.
Very good. This goalkeeper is fucking tragic. Just have to say that.
Well, am I not right in saying that our goal difference is 23 and theirs is 18? They're not going to fucking give away 5, are they?
Again, very possible, but
yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna put the bets on us being top of the league at the right time of the year. It's a lovely, lovely thing to be able to say. It's been a joy, as always, to do Raw with this panel of lads all year. As we come to the end of a year, I'm not sure whether or not that game, 5 days' time, is that going to take in the new year or not? What day is that, guy? Do you know?
New Year's Day, I think.
New Year's Day. So there you go. So this is the last one for 2023. Been a pleasure to do it, as always. I say it all the time. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your support. We really do appreciate you. Every one of us on this show does appreciate you. You're a fantastic audience to be doing work for. You heard Guy Drinkel. You heard Karl Matchett. I've been Trev Downey. Young Hendrick will be back in the loop for the next one for Newcastle, and we will go again and hopefully stay exactly where we are, which is top of the league.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.